Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Brendan Burchard wrote this, and it's a really good thought to start the day. Listen carefully. To say that death is generally unwelcome and uncontrollable is an understatement. But it happens nonetheless, as do many things that we do not plan or wish for. Yet amid all of our struggles, even our final battles, should our wits and will allow, we have the ability to control the way we meet the world, the way we define the meaning of our experience, and leave an example of how remarkable we can be throughout it all. Woo! That's heavy. And it's right. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in now. Good morning. Thank you very much, and welcome back on a Wednesday morning, September 23rd. My goodness, first day of fall. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Boy, these folks are nice folks. 7 locations serving you. Don't forget to stop in today. Along with some of our great advertisers, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. And, of course, Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. Right now, let's get our Pledge of Allegiance on the air this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I would be honored to do the pledge.
Yes, you would. Go ahead, sir, please.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How does it feel to be a willing volunteer?
Hey, I don't really mind it.
Okay. Wheels, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Thank you very much. We got our pledge. Now it's time for our weather forecast, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. I warned him. I said, Wheels, if somebody doesn't call with that pledge, you be ready. And I'll tell you what, that guy is just like a firecracker with a short fuse. He's ready to go. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh, my goodness. We can do it Wednesdays when designing a large living room. Don't be afraid to break it up into sections and just change things around. It'll look neat, and everybody will say, oh, what did you do? At Cheney Flooring and Home Design, they can help. And give them a call, 678-6945. Right now, it's time for Gina and the weather.
It's a Wednesday, September 23rd. Here's your weather forecast. Still inside a high-pressure system, although today not going to be as warm as it was yesterday. We saw a high of 90 for yesterday, but today, mostly sunny skies, high of 82. Tonight, low of 47. High-pressure system's going to stick around as we move on into the weekend and possibly partway through next week. Sunny skies for tomorrow, high of 86. Overnight low of 53. For Friday, sunny skies, high of 90. Pretty much the same for Saturday. And for Sunday, partly cloudy, cooling down to about 82. Sunset tonight at 7:30. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
Gina, great job. Thank you, Chini Flooring and Home Design. How could I mispronounce their name after all these years on the air? Zebber, wake up. Chini Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, and don't forget all your carpet and flooring, kitchen, construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home. Kyle and Whitney, wonderful, wonderful people over at Chini Flooring and Home Design. Oh, my good. Yeah, the first day of fall. The fall and the autumnal equinox. But now, I also understand this morning from a report I saw on Fox News earlier, Christmas shopping is reigning supreme at a lot of major department stores. What? Christmas shopping? Really? In September? Now, aren't we carrying it a little too far? I can understand, honestly, I can understand and appreciate the Christmas shopping for, like, decorative ornaments and that type of thing. You know, you want refreshing ideas and that kind of thing, but gift giving already being purchased, Christmas shopping, I don't know. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I will tell you this, due to some, and I said this yesterday, and I'll stand behind my statement. I had to leave yesterday afternoon. I had a doctor's appointment over some things that had to be addressed yesterday, and I did not make it to the CSI forum last night. Now, you can go ahead and criticize me if you want. I wanted to in the worst way, but could not. And therefore, I relied heavily not only on what was in the newspaper, which I don't rely heavily on, but I also relied upon people that were there and asked them for a very unprejudiced viewpoint of what took place at that meeting last night regarding the refugees. And I want to be very blunt here. Number one, I called it a brainwashing session, and I will stand behind that. CSI and the Times News had a lot at stake, I guess their pride, etc. And from what I've talked to about various people that were at the meeting last night, they said information was fine, but, you know, really they didn't get into security, they didn't get into a lot of economics on the situation, etc. Adrian Arp was there, Dr. Adrian Arp, and he's going to call in for a very short 5-minute interview at about 8:31 this morning. We're going to talk about that. But here's what I want to emphasize. Now listen closely. At 10:30 this morning, 10:32, we are going to have the United Nations correspondent for World Net Daily. This is a big dude that understands what's going on. And he is specifically going to talk about the hazards and the dangers of the refugee program here in the United States. And it will not support what CSI and the Times News and some of our legislators have been trying to get us to believe. Listen in for that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, we're in a beautiful, and some people want to be politically correct and not say, well, you can't call it Indian summer. Well, I'm going to call it Indian summer. We are in a beautiful time of the fall, this being the first day of fall, and I will call it Indian summer. It's fantastic. And you're probably saying, well, I don't need to check on furnace filters. Well, now's a perfect time. So when that temperature goes zoop right through the floor, chilly, then you're ready. Your furnace is ready. Stop over to Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They have all your furnace filters, all your heating and electrical needs. 2600 Overland in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Really nice people. When I talk about nice people, I also have to mention Denny's Restaurant. Now, tomorrow, I want to emphasize this again. Tomorrow, we will be there for Lunch Bunch. Tomorrow at 11:30. will be at Denny's Restaurant, Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and the food is fantastic. The service is wonderful. Nice people. Thomas and the whole crew at 611 Overland in Burley, and also another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my, you got to try that fantastic 4-cheese omelet. 3-egg omelet stuffed with 4 cheeses, diced bacon, and fresh veggies. Knock your socks off. Delicious. And by the way, too, don't forget Denny's is sponsoring the high school game of the week, where if you pick the right team and the closest to the final score, you'll receive a Grand Slam breakfast. Denny's Restaurant, man, they do it all for you. 611 Overland in Burley. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about a gentleman that I had a chance to watch and play baseball. And he passed away yesterday, and that's Yogi Berra. I want to tell you a little bit of personal note on his passing from me in just a moment. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
How are we doing, Mr. Bell?
I am fantabulous. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm sitting at your KBR studios out here. I just took Gina in some papers to fax to you.
Okay.
And we went to the meeting last night, and what a crock of crap.
Well, you know, let's really be non-prejudicial and just be forthright and very blunt. Honestly, what did you gain or lose by attending that meeting?
Well, we listened to him for about 45 minutes, and about 60 of us altogether got up and walked out. And after that, it was just a steady flow of people leaving, because we got to put our questions down on a piece of paper that they would ask their panel.
Yeah.
Say their panel.
Yeah.
And, but the funny thing of it was when they would read one of the questions that was posed to them, they already had a slideshow set up to explain things. So that kind of tells me, at least for me, that was kind of, a lot of it was kind of set up.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you, and that is funny that you should mention that in that way, because most every person that I've talked to this morning prior to this program said almost exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and the one guy that was over it, that was talking about it, I just got sick of it, because it was, we give them. When they come here, we give them.
Yeah.
They're notified like they got 200 refugees coming in. They immediately go out and get housing for them, and that housing might sit empty for 2 or 3 months, but we're paying for until they get refugees in there to occupy it. Another statement he made was when they get a job, if they work for 30 days, they get a $125 bonus. If they keep the job for 60 days, they get a $150 bonus. And, of course, it was we give them.
Now, let me ask you a question right there, sir, please, and I hope you'll not take this as rudeness, but I'm short on time with commercials, and I've got to get those in. But I want to ask you some very important questions. Number one, what happens, and was it discussed, if the refugees do not become self-sufficient, are they going to stay on our dole and in our pocketbooks?
Yes, they will stay on there. They're like... you just can read some of the paperwork. I'm going to have them fact sheets. It's pretty interesting. But one thing, the reason we got up and left is it was so pro for the refugees. They sent out 140 special tickets to the Democrats and Democratic people in the area to go attend this. But that auditorium was about 3/4 full, and when we got up and left, the reason we got up and left, the man made the statement, you know what's wrong with this auditorium? He says, there are plenty more seats that we could fill up this auditorium with refugees, and that was enough for us.
You know, I heard that remark, and I didn't hear it personally, but I heard about the remark from all the other people that I talked to this morning, plus the fact that it was also, and I will give the Times News credit, they did put that in the paper. But now my question is this, sir. When you look at the hazards and the lack of security, the lack of knowledge of knowing who these people are, and that's not coming from Zeb Bell, it's coming from Mike McCall, the chairman of the Homeland Security, it's coming from from the FBI. It's coming from many people that cover various stories at the United Nations. The lack of security and knowledge on who these people are, any backgrounds. Why are they still perpetrating that these people are completely vetted?
Well, one thing of it is, I did have one of my questions answered, is CSI makes $1.4 million a year off this program.
Mm-hmm. So I was correct when I said, I was correct the other day on the air, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when I surmised that it was not 600,000, it was over $1 million. So I was correct in that then, right?
Yeah.
All right.
They flat out said right on the stage that they make $1.4 million off of this program. And so you want my quick analogy, because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
My quick analogy, more or less, is it's just like prostitution. CSI or the pimps, they're making the money off the refugees that are here, and guess what? We're the Johns, we're the ones paying for it.
You know, everything you said makes a lot of sense to me, and I want to urge you, if you have the possibility later on this morning, and I know you're a very busy man, but later on this morning at 10:30, I have coerced this man to come on my program this morning. Again, he was on about 3 weeks ago. His name is Curtis Ellis. He is the United Nations correspondent for WorldNet Daily, and he's absolutely adamant that the refugee program is a huge mistake and being helped and aided by the United Nations. If you get a chance, listen to that at 10:30 this morning. I think you'll find it very interesting in comparison to what you were told at CSI.
Well, I'll just have to tell the crew they're going to have to work without me because I'm taking a break.
All right. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.
Have a blessed day.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
Bye.
That gentleman I asked yesterday, and he followed up on it, and I tell him thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving us that information. By the way, I also want to remind you about Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Oh, you know, you hate to think about the colder weather coming. But listen, if you work outside with livestock, excuse me for choking right there, if you need warm clothing for the winter, there is no better place to go than right there at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. They're getting in all the winter coats, all the flannel shirts, gloves, hats, boots, anything you need to stay warm. Yep, at Valley White Home and Ranch. And don't forget, they've got all your feed needs for your cattle. They've got all your boots. They've got all the horse equipment. They've got it all for you. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. At Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, plus the fact they've got really nice people over there. Okay? By the way, I got to tell you, yesterday I ran into a lovely, lovely lady, and I just want to say thank you very much from the AC Drive-In. And Mrs. Larson, thank you so much. You're so kind. And she loves to listen to Dr. History, and she told me that. Thank you very much. Minnecasia Sales sponsors Dr. History at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, and they've got all your lumber needs. And, right now's the time to upgrade your windows and save on heating or cooling bills. Yeah, Western Windows. And they've got all the cows are coming home off the hill. All the Tartar Gates farm and ranch panels ready to go at Minnecasia Sales. Zach and the boys and the girls at Minnecasia Sales serving you. Call them, 878-2091. Bringing you Dr. History. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I mentioned about tomorrow lunch bunch. I also want to say thank you, and Deanne's got a list here for me. Thank you very much to Stokes Food Center, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, and Smith's Food and Drug for all the gift certificates for the drawings tomorrow. Thank you so, so much. Hey, by the way, on Saturday, the 97th Annual Old Settlers Dinner. This is a fantastic dinner. It's this Saturday, the 26th, at the Rupert Elks Lodge in Rupert. Dinner time, 12 noon, and it's going to be turkey with all the fixins. Just $15 tax and tip included. And then the program at 1 p.m., The Life and Times of Artie Tyler, featuring his son Bob Tyler and Gary Shoresman as host. It's going to be good, and I'll guarantee you it's going to be a little funny, too. You're going to enjoy it. And for more information and registration, call Gary Shoresman at 436 3982. All right, now give me your calls. I want to get this in real quick because I was fortunate in my earlier years to have watched Yogi Berra play when he played for the New York Yankees. Yogi Berra, 3 times MVP, 15 times an All-Star, and 10 World Series. Passed away at 90 years of age yesterday. And I got to tell you, he's known for his yogiisms, like when you come to a fork in the road, take it. And then his most famous, I think, it ain't over till it's over. But a lot of people do not know, and I think this is really worthy of saying this morning, that he could have very possibly ruined or completely destroyed a chance at a Major League Baseball career when in very early age as a teenager, he enlisted in the United States Navy to go fight for our country. And he was considered a World War II hero. He was a machine gunner at Omaha Beach, one of the most devastating landings in our nation's history. And when I look at Yogi Berra, knowing his history as not only serving his country, but also a great baseball player and a great humanitarian. He did a lot for people behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't in knowledge of. A lot of charity work. We need today more Yogi Berras. I mean, I really felt sad when I heard that he passed away. I know, 90 years of age, full life, etc. But there was a great human being, a great athlete, and a great American for our United States of America. And honestly, this morning, I have sadness. Yogi Berra passing away at 90 years of age. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, don't forget, too, on Mondays, we have a little segment at 8:31 in the morning where we give away a half dozen delicious Sophie's Chatterbox Cinnamon Rolls at 530 East Street in Rupert. And the contest is only open for first-time winners. And once you're a winner, well, you've had your goodies. Okay? That sounds a little harsh. But anyway, Sophie's Chatterbox sponsors that at 530 East Street in Rupert. They're open 6 to 6 weekdays, 6 to 2 on weekends. Great breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a bakery at Sophie's Chatterbox. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're going to be talking to Adrian Arp in just a minute, too, in regards to last night's meeting. And I want to thank that other gentleman so much for calling in. That meant a lot. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Number to call. Now, write this number down. 312-0957. 312-0957. It's across the street from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room and Dr. Christine Pickup. Now, I did go through the hearing screening. Yes, I did. And I'm so glad I did because I had some weaknesses that needed to be corrected in my hearing, and she helped me a lot, and she can help you too. Christine Pickup, call for a hearing screening today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They want to have you hear more. Okay? Call them. They're really nice people, too. I got to tell you that. Another quick note, real quick. Let's see. The pharmaceutical company. I want to bring you an update as to what happened yesterday. And I'm not going to take all the credit, but I'm going to take some of the credit. Radio stations around the United States that carried this story and their talk show hosts really were upset like I was. Pharmaceutical company owner, brand new, kind of a young, punkish kid, 32 years of age. He wanted to raise the price of the cancer pill from $13.50 to $750 per pill. That's a, 5,500% increase. and he wanted to gouge the poor people that needed that medicine desperately. Well, all of a sudden, I guess he had an epiphany last night, and, they're going to lower now the price of the pill. But he didn't say by how much. Good morning, Adrian Arp. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I attended the meeting last night, but also three of us attended a meeting. There was 4 bureaucrats from Washington, D.C., 2 that were on the panel, plus 2 others, and I'm not sure what their exactly responsibility. But anyway, in the meeting itself, very few of the real pertinent questions were answered, and the big thing was that there's no boots on the ground in Syria, so it's different bringing in refugees from Syria, because when they screen them or vet them, they have to just interview them and take their word.
Yeah.
And, of course, if you know the Quran, they are obligated to lie. The end justifies the means, so you're just taking their word for it, because there really is no paperwork for most of these people. And some of them can speak English, some of them have, very difficult problems with that.
Well, let me stop you right there, Adrian.
Never really got into, and it was really never addressed as a fact, and Larry Bartlett kind of glossed over it really fast, is the fact that we're having ISIS is using the internet to recruit, and ISIS is using the refugee center program. And we've already seen that. The guy that killed the 4 Marines and the 1 sailor back in Charlotte, he was a refugee, had a good job, had a college education. So this is the kind of stuff that's going on, and he was a refugee. The guy in Boise was just convicted. But see, none of that was really brought out.
Adrian, let me interrupt you with a couple of questions here. It's really important. I need to ask questions also. Number one, the gist of the meeting. You knew what it was going into that meeting. You knew it was going to be a pro-positive CSI refugee center. Did they do anything or say anything in that meeting that would have given the other side, your side, my side, opposition to the refugee center? Did they give them any credence for their concerns?
Well, I think the fact that he said there's no boots on the ground, because that question was finally answered. A friend of mine, they'd submitted 50 questions, only 4 pertinent questions were touched on, and they kind of, but the fact there's no boots on the ground, I pointed out to Larry Bartlett directly, one-on-one, that Islam is now in phase 3. He didn't, and he said, you mean ISIS? He was clueless about Islam and how evil it is and what their objectives are. He said they're in phase 3, total war, meaning death to America and Israel with action. And, and I said, this is what's going on. I said, the past is what's happened with the refugee program is one thing. They're now in phase 3, which means they will bring in, and they're going to either destroy this country by terrorism or force us into Sharia law by just bringing in sheer numbers. And when we bring in sheer numbers, we don't need 50%, even less than 10%. And we're about 4% now already in the valley here.
Let me ask you again. Hold on, Adrian. Adrian, just a minute.
Before they get to that.
I know, but I got to get to this question.
Sure.
Of the people there last night, and this is a personality question about the audience. When you and your group opposed to the refugee center, of which I would have been a part of had I been there last night, did you notice animosity between the ones in the audience that consider themselves the liberal elites in this area, that they know everything more than we do? Did you notice the animosity in the room, or was that not prevalent?
Well, there was a cheerleading squad when there was something that was said real positive for the refugee center. And I think the opposition was extremely civil. There were a couple outbursts that came along, but basically it was a very civil group. I think this is the whole thing is, I think, there was some good educational information brought out, but bottom line is the people that I saw, a lot of friends came through there. I don't think they changed their mind with what was presented last night.
All right.
They knew it was going to be not a debate, but basically a pro-refugee center program. There was the Janus group, which is out of Boise. There's 3 groups up there. They had a big contingency of people that came down supporting the refugees. There were people that had little tags on support refugee program and so forth. So they had some organization there.
Wait a minute. Stop again, Adrian. Just a second. In regards,
accepted that.
Wait a minute. Just a second. Let me say this. I got to ask you about this, and we're almost out of time. Of the legislators, of the representatives and state senators that were there last night, it would appear to me, by what I have read and what I have gathered as information this morning, that the only one that had, I will say, the backbone to raise questions in favor of security was Steve Hartkin. Am I wrong or right?
Well, I didn't particularly see that particular comment, but I think I talked to several of them last night. And the security thing. I talked to one of the aides of one of our representative, and she just blew me off. She said, the security. I said, what about this? Boots on the ground. She just run on past me.
Oh, really?
Coming in.
Oh, really?
And that really. And this is Mike Simpson's office that says there's no Muslim influence in the White House, in our State Department. And, I guess they're sticking by that. And, of course, they apparently met with these people, and he can partly convince them that the vetting process is sufficient, even though there's no boots on the ground. So,
well, I want to say
people are telling the truth.
I want to say how much I thank you for being on the air about this morning. And when the meeting wrapped up, give me a short answer on this because I got to get some commercials in. When the meeting wrapped up last night, what was the gist of the closing? Are they going to have more meetings supposedly to try to brainwash or get us to go over to their side, or do they consider this now a done deal? Close the book. It's over.
No. I talked to both the publisher and the editor of the newspaper last night after the meeting. Everybody pretty much had left, and they agreed that this is not a done deal. They want public input. They realize there's a lot of people. They knew that there were a lot of people there. I would say way more than the majority of the people there came there opposed to the refugee center, and I don't think they heard anything last night that makes them feel very much more secure about it. So they agreed that I've nailed them, that they have been very one-sided. They're going to allow members of our committee to submit guest opinions or guest editorials rather than your typical just short letters to the editor kind of thing. So they realize that they have been hammered by a lot of people because of their very biased pro-refugee center situation.
Right.
So I think that's the good that comes from this. And the other good that may have come from it is that because of the stink we've raised about the Syrian problem particularly, the refugees that come here may not be from Syria. That may be great news.
But that has to be verified. That has to be verified, and I'm going to stay on top of the story. I've got to leave and do a commercial break. Dr. Arp, thank you so much for your...
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I think we got to keep the heat on.
Right.
Keep those letters to the editor coming in. They realize, and a lot of us have put them on the hot plate, that they have been very one-sided. But keep up the work, Zeb, and because we've got to stop this immigration jihad from happening, and the terrorist jihad as well.
I got to go.
America, and God bless your efforts for bringing this to light.
I appreciate it, Dr. Arp. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. I hate to be rude and cut him off, but, man, I tell you what, I've got commercial breaks and everything, but I want to say to the other gentleman and Dr. Arp for calling in this morning, I asked them both to come on the air this morning and discuss this, I just absolutely am against the Refugee Center. I am against the Refugee Center for the main reason of bringing in people from that part of the world, the Middle Eastern part of the world, that we do not have a proper vetting system. We do not have the knowledge on these people, and anybody that says that we do is, I think, and I'm going to use blunt terminology, lying. When I listen to various people like Michael McCall from Texas, and I listen to the FBI, and I listen to others, and I'm going to have on the air this morning at 10:30, Curtis Ellis, UN correspondent for WorldNet Daily, say, no, they're not being vetted. They don't even know for sure who's who. I'm very concerned, and you should be too. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. And they have 3 locations, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Wow, you go into those locations, and I mean, you're seeing some shining, gleaming equipment waiting for you to get the job done right. Whether it's the Bobcat skid steer loaders, or whether it's the Coyote tractors, whether it's the great big Doosan loaders. I mean, they've got all the equipment you need to get the job done right. That's the key, bottom line. So whether you're buying or leasing, Berry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, you stop in and see them today. I want to say also a big thank you. Calls are welcome right now. Give me a jingle, 436-2244-1866. 927-4587. I want to say a big thank you to Nick Greenwell and his staff at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Man, I mean, they treat through a treatment called ASTYM. I hope I say that right. It's either ASTYM or ASTYM, ASTYM, and it's a treatment that addresses the cause of your pain, not just the symptoms. They really work hard to get you back to where you feel like you. The greatest of physical therapists there with all the sports medicine, all the exercises, hydrotherapy pool. My goodness. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Call for an appointment today at 678-1191. Calls welcome, 436-2244-1866-927-4587. What is with this mindless zealot that calls himself our president? I had to really watch my verbiage when I started this story this morning, thinking about it at about 5 o'clock. I'm going to call him a mindless zealot. That's Obama to me. I don't like the man, never have liked the man, never will like the man, and I will absolutely be honored to see the next 485 days go very quickly so he can be gone. I'm going to talk about that in just a few moments after I take this call in the weather. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, at the top of the hour, Obama said, "What a beautiful day that the Lord has made." And I said, now, if he ain't the most phony person ever, he is such a phony. It's truly unbelievable. And he is a shameless, phony. Well, and I don't know for sure. We have our speculations about him.
Well, let me throw this at you real quick, Randy, and you kind of led me right into the next story, and I've only got a short time here. This man, this mindless zealot, he's not getting Gitmo closed, but he's closing it his way by releasing these filthy, dangerous, anti-American prisoners. He just released Osama bin Laden's bodyguard, a Shalabi, that's his name. He has hated and spit on Americans. He's yelled death to America. He said when he gets a chance, he's going to kill Americans, and Obama just issued an order and let him go. Just 4 months ago, this slime, Shalabi, was considered one of the most dangerous terrorists in captivity. What is this mindless zealot Obama doing?
Well, I'm going to tell you, the more chaos there is, the more chance that he can institute martial law and shut down the election. And people, see, we just really think it can't happen in America. It really can't happen in America. Well, if you ask Kate Steinle's parents, and she is dead, and all across this nation, the things that are occurring, it can happen in America, whether or not it's an illegal alien from Mexico or it's a refugee from Syria or anywhere in the Middle East. You see?
Yeah.
Hey, one more quick statement and then I'm hanging.
All right.
FDR, now if he was president today and he rounded up all of the Hispanics, and well, okay, let's just say Muslims, because they are at war against us. They say it every day. You see? Think about how different things are.
Amen.
They are at war with us. They tell us this every day.
Amen.
And they used to not even have a state, but now they have a state the size of Indiana. So,
you know, your point is really well taken, because FDR, out of concern for the security and safety of Americans back in World War II, the internment camps, etc. Oh yeah, now 70 years later, everybody's saying, "Oh, the man was wrong." Hindsight's always 20/20 when you look back on history. But your thought and theory is correct as far as what would happen if that would happen today. Well, it can't happen today because of PC correctness.
Exactly, and see, as liberal as FDR was, at least he, like I said, he at least loved America.
Absolutely. Randy, I am running late, buddy, but I do appreciate your point. Thank you. Caller number 2, I know you're waiting. Please bear with me through the weather forecast. I've got to get this in here real quick. Brought to you by Mad River Laser. Earlier this morning, I mentioned, about Christmas ornaments and everything. Be the first to have the best and the most unique. Well, they've got them. Custom Christmas ornaments already at Mad River Laser. And this is good. I mean, we're not talking about Christmas shopping. We're talking about Christmas ornaments to get everything all dressed up. I love Christmas ornaments and the festivity of Christmas. Well, stop over to Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. They have got the best and the most unique. Here now is Gina with the weather.
It's a Wednesday, September 23rd. Here's your weather forecast. Still inside a high-pressure system, although today not going to be as warm as it was yesterday. We saw a high of 90 for yesterday, but today mostly sunny skies, high of 82. Tonight, low of 47. High-pressure system's going to stick around as we move on into the weekend and possibly partway through next week. Sunny skies for tomorrow, high of 86. Overnight low of 53. For Friday, sunny skies, high of 90. Pretty much the same for Saturday. And for Sunday, partly cloudy, cooling down to about 82. Sunset tonight at 7:30. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by Mad River Laser. Nicole and the crew, these are really nice people at 502 East Street in Rupert. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Seb Bell. During World War II, we didn't have Mexican Americans, we didn't have African Americans, we had American Christians fighting the war. And I'm sick and tired of being called Mexican American and African American. Muslim Americans, there's no such animal. There's only one culture in this country, and that is the Christian culture. And I'm surprised that the media is trying to divide us by calling us African Americans and Mexican Americans and Hispanics. There's only one culture in America, a Christian culture. Thank you, sir.
No, wait a minute. Stay on the line. Don't hang up. I want to say something to you, and it's very important. You have summed up my feelings very succinctly this morning, and I say to you, God bless you, sir. Thank you for your call. What a nice man. Wow, I'm taken aback. Everything he said, in a very short fashion, was spot on. Thank you, sir. I will not, and I want to reiterate some of his points, I will not on this program call people African Americans. I won't do it. I won't do it. And some people are going to be outraged because this is definitely not according to PC. If you are black, you're black. I may call you that if you are black. Or I may call you a Negro, respectively. But I'm not going to call you an African American. I'm not going to refer to somebody as Mexican American or Japanese American, etc. The man's point was, if you live in this country, you're a citizen of this country, you're a taxpayer in this country, you're an American. Bluntly underlined, end of statement. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. The Pope was invited here for two main reasons, in my opinion. First of all, he's preaching socialism. Second of all, he is all for this global warming thing. And the third reason is his feelings are go forth and multiply to people. We've got so many people on this earth right now, we just can't stand anymore.
I want to say something about the Pope and others with their stance on global warming. According to the opening of what Obama said this morning when he introduced the Pope, he said, "What a wonderful day, the day the Lord has made." Well, keep in mind, the Lord has his hand on the thermostat, not man. And global warming, I will never, ever, Tony, you will never hear me adhere to the philosophy of accepting global warming. I won't do it. I can't do it because there's too many educated people that I've listened to and I've read their books and etc. I've had them on my program. Global warming is nothing more, in my opinion, than the liberal left's way of gaining more control over the mass populations.
Well, global warming is a phenomenon that's been going on for a million years, and the Pope or Obama or Al Gore isn't going to change.
Well, now, wait a minute. I got to correct you on one thing. You said it's been going on for millions of years. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. We, for the last 19 years, on the scales that you can look up on your own, you can go to the internet, you can call the National Weather Service, you can call anybody you want to, we have gone the other way on the needle, and we're in a cooling trend. And this balderdash about how it's been always warming up is not true.
Well, we're being attacked from so many different directions now, it's getting to be confusing.
Well, it is confusing, but there's a right and a wrong to every issue, Tony. I don't have to tell you that. I mean, you're older than I am and probably much, much more wiser. There's a right and a wrong, a black and a white, yeah. But the liberals want to meld everything together and create a political correctness that I will not adhere to.
Well, maybe Donald Trump will be able to get to it. He reminds me of Teddy Roosevelt and General Patton all rolled up in one. We need somebody up there like that.
The only thing he can't do compared to those other two is ride a horse.
He's too big.
See you later, buddy. All right, thank you. Calls welcome 436-2244-1-866-927-4587. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt and General Patton, they could ride horses. I don't think Donald Trump can. Anyway, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And that word service, that's a pretty important word because businesses today, I think, have lost the value of service to their customers. Not so when it comes to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I have been at almost every location. I have visited almost every location. And I've sat back and listened when they've had people come in the door, and I am so impressed with the way that the folks at the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers treat people and really help them get back out the door and on the road. They are the best. All your shocks and struts, your brake service, your batteries, your front end alignments, and of course, the best in tires. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, the Pope is a great leader for the Catholic Church, but he doesn't represent me or you personally, because we are not of that faith.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Whoa. Stop for a minute. Keith, just a minute. Let me make a point there. Let me make a point real quick, and then I got to take another call. I don't care whose faith is what, but one man, a man, is not going to tell me what to do or what philosophy I should adhere to. And I agree with your statement. Thank you.
You know, and the other thing of it is that he's talking about global warming. That is something, let's leave it out of the equation of religion, because now he's trying to drag the children into it now. Yeah. About how harmful it is and everything. And I don't appreciate it myself.
I don't either, and I got to take one more call, and then I got the news. But, Keith, I think you're spot on with your philosophy and your sense of understanding where this is going. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet.
God bless you, man. Thank you. Caller, real quick. I got 1 minute left. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of comments on the refugees coming in. One thing you mentioned, that they're going to have another meeting, and then after they have that one, they'll have another one, and then another one, till they wear everybody down to where they're not concerned about it, and they'll get their way. That's one comment. The other one is, over in Idaho Falls, the lady who was in charge of it in Boise was on the air there, and she was saying that, they're going to check everybody out, they're going to do background checks and all that, and there's a very small chance that somebody might get through that would do anything. Well, it only takes one to strap a bomb on him and go into a crowd of people and blow him up. That's exactly right. Sir, thank you so much for your comments, and I appreciate that. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You know, they're going to harp. They're going to keep on petting the cat, if you will. They're going to keep on saying that you and me and others, why, we're just radical thinkers. Look out for those people. No, I'm not. I'm very honest and forthright in my approach that I do not agree with the Refugee Center, the way it's being run at CSI. I don't like the idea of the Times News trying to brainwash us into accepting something that right now has totally too many unanswered questions. I got to take a break. Be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. You're listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call 312-0957. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch, along with our good friends at Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Don't forget they've got all the porta potties. Never forget the porta potties for events, weddings, fairs, rodeos, company picnics, family reunions, class reunions, everything. I'm telling you, they got the portable toilets, trailer units, hand wash stations, all of this and more through folks that really care. I am so blessed to have them on my program. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today at 734-6969 Western Waste Services. By the way, don't forget, every morning we start our program off with the weather, and the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. All you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 678-6945. Wonderful people. You know, that term, wonderful people, leads me right up to tell you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend, always smiling. What a nice, happy guy, Joel Heward. He really is a nice person. He and his family and his staff serving the entire community. And let's face it, when there's the passing of a loved one, you need people to help you get everything taken care of. And they always uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please write this number down and give them a call, 436-5636. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow we're going to be announcing the Denny's High School Game of the Week as far as you pick the winning team and the closest to the final score, and you might win a free Grand Slam breakfast from Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Good. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But remember, Denny's Restaurant, also the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, tomorrow at 11:30. Don't miss it. Let's go to the phone line right now, and one of my dearest friends, even though we have never had the opportunity to sit down at the same table and drink the wine that I have to buy for the next 10 years, Dave Bego, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, you keep talking about that wine. I'd like to see a bottle of that.
Oh, you embarrassed me. I know it. We've got to meet maybe in Colorado or something, our wives' family, and I've got to reciprocate all of the lost bets and wages that I've made with you, because I owe you a bunch, and it's such a tribute to have you on our program. First and foremost, let me get a jab back at you if I could. Gee, the Colts really don't look very well this year.
Well, Zeb, you know, I only watched about a quarter and a half of it, and I just decided to go to bed. It was so embarrassing. It just they're making so many mental mistakes and turnovers. It's terrible, and there's a lot of talk around here that there's a lot of problems in the locker room between the coaches and the players and that. So hopefully they'll get it figured out and get it straightened out.
You know, one of the plays of that last game, and I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this, was Frank Gore on the 1-yard line, fumbling after all the pass interceptions and everything else. No protection of the ball whatsoever. These guys really are in disarray.
Yeah, they are. It just doesn't seem like people are on board and they're not focused. And like I say, there's a lot of comment going around that there's a lot of discord in the locker room. So, you know, we've got a general manager that's fairly new, and they're kind of pointing at him too. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll get it straightened out. It's disheartening to watch.
When you talk about the words disarray, you led me right into politics. You grabbed the lead shank and the halter, and I followed you. Boy, the Republican Party, in my opinion, and I want you to tell me I'm completely all wet if you want to, or you can agree with me, the Republican Party falls underneath that word disarray, does it not?
Oh, it is, and I think it's been that way for a long time, Seb. I've mentioned that before, that the Republican Party doesn't seem to want to stand up and have a backbone and do the things they need to do to be successful and to fight the attacks from the other side. And instead they just go out, all these candidates, and it's wishy-washy, and they're attacking each other. And we need some cohesiveness, and it needs to happen soon.
Okay, soon. There's another key word. Can the Republican Party, get things back together so they don't look like a 4-H club that's got kids running in 30 directions? Can they do it by 2016?
I don't know, Zeb. I'm very concerned. It's just like the people we have in leading the House and the Senate for the Republican Party. They just, they seem to want to go along to get along. And, at some time you have to stand up and take a stand and, explain professionally why you're doing it. And, that's kind of what we did when we fought the SEIU. And when we did that, people took notice. They go, yeah, we're glad to see these guys take a stand. And, yeah, they're exposing these people. I'm not calling them idiots or anything or talking about how they look or, I'm just being professional. Say, what they're telling you is not true. Look behind the scenes here and read it and expose them for what they are and be professional about it. And that's what we need out there.
Yeah. All right. Now, both of us on this program on numerous occasions had espoused the fact that we were in favor of Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. I liked him. You liked him. And I'm going to say this, and you can correct me again, Dave, if you don't like my statement. I thought this last week when Scott Walker withdrew from the presidential chase, he did it in a low-class way. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, Zeb, I didn't think he got a lot of time, and if you look at he took some shots he probably shouldn't have, but you look at the time he got on there, he was one of the bottom 2 or 3.
I agree.
And, I don't think he really has a lot of time to explain himself and show how good he can be and how charismatic he can be. And quite honestly, I think a lot of that is because I believe the unions have gone to the media and said, don't give Walker time, because if you give Walker time, we're going to go after your advertisers and we're going to give you a hard time on the sets and things like that. And because, Walker really took the unions to task in Wisconsin and won. And they don't want that to happen across the country.
Yeah, but Kasich and Huckabee also were very limited on time. Huckabee only had 3 questions, and I think his minutes were like almost 3/4 less than almost everyone else, as it was John Kasich and Scott Walker. Why? Why were they picked on? Why do you suppose that we had a tier of people that absolutely were ignored by, I thought, an atrocious questioning by CNN? That was one of the worst debates I've ever seen for keeping control of the situation. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, that's what they do. And like I say, CNN obviously is a liberal base, and they are controlled by the unions. The unions are very behind them, and I don't think people really understand how much control the unions have in this country. And I talk about this in my book. The reason Glenn Beck is not on Fox anymore is because he was going after the same union I was fighting, the SEIU, for their bill they were trying to pass in Congress, the Employee Free Choice Act, which is a fancy name for card check. And so they started going after Fox's advertisers back in 2010 and 2011. And Fox started losing revenues. The advertisers were losing revenues. And, the SEIU said to them, look, hey, you guys get rid of Beck. Get him out of there. We'll leave your advertisers alone, and that's what happened. And I just know that's what's going on behind the scenes with some of these people that they don't want to see have a chance. And you look at Huckabee, he's more from a religious background and all that, and they don't like, they don't want him trying to win over people. And Kasich. I'm mixed on him. He took on the unions for a while in Ohio, but initially he kind of let them get their way. But when he finally stood up, the unions got upset about it, and hence he's not going to get time either.
Well, I miss Scott Walker not being in the race, and I miss the fact that I thought he had some very good principles and ideas. But I don't know, again, if you'll agree with this. I thought that when questions were asked about Scott Walker regarding national security, regarding foreign policy, I thought he looked like a 6th grader looking down at his notes trying to compile an answer. Am I wrong?
Well, Zeb, here's where I feel about the national security and that. I think at this point, I think it's tough for anybody to answer those questions because we don't know all the details behind it, and that's something when a person's elected to office that they've got to get into and make sure that they understand it all. What I want to see more than the details is somebody that is a firm person that says we are going to protect America, because that's my number one job as president, is to protect this country from outside sources that are wanting to destroy us, and we will do that at all costs. And, then they can get into the details when they get into office and they learn more about it. I want to see a strong backbone.
Absolutely. You and I are on the same page. But now I'm a little bit more than concerned. Okay, so Scott Walker takes a hike. He leaves. You know as well as I do that people like Rand Paul not ever going to get the power to run really realistically for the Oval Office. And as are many, you mentioned Huckabee, mentioned Kasich, etc. But you know something that really scares me is we're seeing this, I think, behind-the-scenes whittling of a little stick with a big jackknife, and all of a sudden Jeb Bush is still standing there, and I am deathly afraid of Jeb Bush. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I've got some real concerns about Jeb Bush. I've met his brother and his dad, and I like them. They're good people. I think Jeb kind of gets off on the side on some of these issues, like the immigration and Common Core and things like that. And I'm afraid he will be a little wishy-washy like we have with our people that run the House and Senate for the Republican Party. And again, we need people that have strong backbone, understand we are in times that we can't be that way. We got to stand up and save America. And I think that's one thing Donald Trump gets, is that we got to make America great again. And he doesn't always say it in the best terms. I've said this before on your show. He needs a lot of polishing. But at least he knows we got to make some strong fundamental changes quickly.
Absolutely. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to ask you about Volkswagen and also GM, two very powerful auto manufacturing firms and two very much in trouble firms. Volkswagen for lying and cheating over emissions with their diesel car, and GM for not acknowledging a mistake and a goof that cost human lives, American lives, and yet they get off with nothing more than a slap on the wrist. What about these two stories?
Well, I'm not surprised at all in the case of GM, because that's fundamentally they've supported the Obama administration and that, and I didn't expect that would happen to them at all. And VW, they're afraid to go after them for, it's a business here that brings money into this country and all that, and I think they got to take a step back. If people have done something wrong, they need to stand up and say, yeah, we were wrong, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to pay for it.
Absolutely.
And I think the government needs to make sure that happens.
I want to talk to you a little bit more now about Dr. Ben Carson. And Dave, believe me, I really respect the man for his backbone and his spine of not rolling over like a dead perch on the beach. And he had an opportunity to roll over when the critics and PCers came after him regarding his remarks about a possible Muslim president. I have said on the air that I absolutely will do all in my power never to see a Muslim president elected as President of the United States of America. And Dr. Ben Carson had a right to his opinion. The PC people came out of the woodwork and tried to crucify him. What are your thoughts?
Well, we talked about my blog last week on political correctness.
Yes.
And that's what these people use to attack people like Carson. And you're right. He has a right to his views, and he has a right to speak out on his beliefs. And but that's what the other side wants to do. They want to intimidate you. They want to make you cower and, crawl under a rock. And we just can't let them do that. Carson's right. We don't want people in the White House that shouldn't be in the White House. And, he has a right to speak those opinions. And this political correctness is, as I said in my blog last week, is ruining America. And people need to stand up and get tough and, move on.
Well, I wrote about it in my blog also. We kind of wrote about the same thing in the last couple of weeks, and I noticed this morning the word was out, and grudgingly the word was out, that since Dr. Ben Carson stood up and told the PC people to take a long walk off a short pier, his donations have skyrocketed, Dave.
Well, that's right. People, I think the majority of Americans understand what this country's all about, understand what's going on, and they need, they're behind people that have a backbone and really willing to stand up to these things. And that's why I say we need candidates like that, and that's why I like Carson, that's why I like Trump. And even Fiorina, she's got her problems, but at least she's showing some backbone. And we need some backbone because we can't let these people use things like political correctness to intimidate and cower this country and fundamentally change it, which is what this administration wants done.
When you talk about fundamentally change, then of course I have to wrap up our conversation by talking about Hillary Clinton. I am still absolutely amazed every time I turn on the news that she still would have an outside chance of becoming the president. Now she came out and said and condemned the Keystone Pipeline. She's really jumping on the global warming bandwagon with the enviros, but yet more trouble is in store for this lady with the FBI searching of her emails. What are your thoughts about this whole despicable mess?
I think she's going to implode, and she's doing the same thing, Zeb, that the left likes to do. They like to keep changing the subject and move different things so they get the focus off of the things like her emails and her servers and all that, And she throws the thing out there on the pipeline, and and she does that to get people's eye off the ball. And on top of that, the environmentalists probably come to her and said, "We'll give you so much money if you support us." So that's what she's doing. What gets me is that she's slapping the unions in the face by doing that, because there's a lot of union jobs, potential jobs out there in building this thing, and that just tells you about these people. They will run over anybody to achieve their objective, even the people that support them.
Dave, we talk almost every week, and you touch on it every week, about either the SEIU or other unions and the involvement here in this country. Right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, they've been dormant as far as not doing so much to really be in the news as of late, but now, with still 484 days left of this Obama administration, and we're seeing them with their attacks on the food industry, demanding this $15 an hour wage, etc. What other negatives do you think they might throw up in the time remaining for Obama's office?
Well, the unions are being a little quiet, and that's one thing I want to talk about a little bit today, is that behind the scenes, there's another part of Obama's agenda, and again, he throws stuff out there and he does stuff all the time to keep people's eyes off the ball, but he's got the National Labor Relations Board getting real close to enacting card check, which is, eliminates the secret ballot election for people to decide if they want to be in union, goes to card check. And with all the changes they've been subtly making this year, combined, they're going to eliminate the election process and go to card check. And I actually wanted to write a blog on that this week, and it's been a busy week, and I hope to get to it yet before the end of the week. But the unions are keeping quiet on that because they want this to get through so they can go out and they can start force unionizing people across the country, which is going to provide more money for the Democratic Party.
Boy, when you write that blog, get her done, and we'll talk about it next week. Dave, my dear friend, Dave Beagle from Indianapolis, Indiana. I always look forward to his conversations. Great conversation. May the Lord bless you this week, and we'll see you next Wednesday, my friend.
Well, thank you. And, hey, just one more thing on Scott Walker. The thing that's kind of surprising to me on this is that, the Koch brothers were behind him pretty big time in Americans for Prosperity. And
right.
You haven't heard a word out of them, have you?
No, I haven't. But now that you mention it, I've got some sources. Immediately after this program, I'll do some investigating and find out.
Well, let me know what you hear. I'd appreciate it.
I will, my friend. Dave Beagle, again, God's blessings. Thanks for being on the program.
Well, thanks, and have a great week out.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. A dear friend right there, Dave Bigo in Indiana, always with a great perspective as to what's going on. Hey, don't forget the 97th Annual Old Settlers Dinner. Thank you, Gary Shoresman. I'm telling you, he's heading it up and moving it out on this Saturday, the 26th, at the Rupert Elks Lodge. Dinner time, 12 noon. Be there. Turkey and all the fixins, $15 tax and tip included. And make your reservations with Gary Shoresman at 436-3982. 436-3982. And then the program at 1 o'clock is going to be outstanding. The Life and Times of Artie Tyler, featuring his son, Bob Tyler. I know Bob. And it's going to get funny, and it'll be very interesting. I'll tell you, with Gary Shoresman as the host. 97th Annual Old Settlers Dinner, this Saturday, the 26th, at the Rupert Elks Lodge. Hey, don't forget to Let's Ride. Oh, I keep telling you this, that with the colors changing up in the hills, I mean, the reds, the golds, the greens, all the different colors of the leaves and everything, get up in the hills and enjoy. That's where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. And they still have some great rebates on Suzuki 4x4s. Oh, go over and check. That's what we've got is Suzuki's. And also, I want to tell you that they've got the new Timber Sled snow bikes. Say that fast 5 times. And you can get over there and enjoy great fun in the snow. It's coming. You better believe it. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, where the fun is sold. Really nice people, too. Don't forget, tomorrow is Lunch Bunch at 11:30 at Denny's, and I want to stress the fact that we say thank you to Stokes Food Center, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, along with Smith's Food and Drug for all the gift certificates for the door prizes, and hope everybody can make it to Denny's at 611 Overland in Burley tomorrow at 11:30, Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and a kind of a special lunch bunch tomorrow, so I'd certainly like to have you there. Don't forget life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. All of this and more to protect you, your family, your business through Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yes, make an appointment today. Don't put it on the back burner. Don't say, well, gee, Martha, we'll go see him next month. No, do it now. We never know. Please stop in or call 436-4424 Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, and by the way, Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with our dear friends at Lennox, I'll tell you what, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. I love that. And they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. I am going to go to the phone line right now, and hopefully she will be there with her always smiling face, one of my favorite guests to have on this program, and it's attorney Gail Trotter. Gail, good morning. How are you?
Sir, I just emailed you guys to let you know that, do you guys have a backup number for her? Because it is unavailable right now.
I do not have the backup number, but what I need you to do is just keep dialing that number. Just don't give up. Keep dialing, okay?
All right.
All right. In the interim, we will take some more calls at 436-224-1866-927-4587. And we'll talk about any subject you want to talk about. One thing I can throw at you this morning, I started to talk a little bit about Dr. Ben Carson. And he was on the air this morning on television. It was really interesting because since he stood up and told the PC people, since he told CARE, the Council for American and Islamic Relations, to back off and leave him alone, since he told Lindsey Graham and others to back off and leave him alone, he'll have a right to his opinion. His donations for his campaign, as we mentioned just a minute ago, have skyrocketed. I heard someone on the line. Yes, Damon.
Gail Trotter is on the phone for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Lady, as I said a moment ago, that I look forward to having on my program anytime, every time she's available, and she's going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I'm going to paraphrase her lead in the story that she wrote called Time to Move On from the Obama Years, and I'm going to say it should be called Goodbye, Obama. Don't let the doorknob hit you on the way out. Good morning, Gail Trotter.
Good morning. Great to be with you. I like your title better.
I just want to see this man and his administration gone. We've got 484 days left, and that's 483 too many.
Yeah, and you're not counting, right?
Yeah, I am. Believe me, I am. You want it broke down into seconds and hours, I can give you 55 hours and 54 minutes.
That is impressive. Well, I think a lot of Americans are feeling exactly the same way, and I was inspired to write this piece about how it's time to move on from the Obama years because I just hear it all around me all the time, such frustration, and I wanted a place to just kind of put all these thoughts and these frustrations in one place, and it all came together in this piece that I wrote.
It's an excellent piece, and you really touched on almost every story or every news article that I've been very concerned about. I mean, whether it's the food stamps, whether it's the Iranian nuclear mess, which it is, our healthcare system, whatever, you did an excellent job in very short, concise language. But let's kind of start from the very beginning. This man, I think, is the most detrimental to our Constitution and our moral values and our values of America in general that's ever sat in the Oval Office. I don't like him. Tell me I'm wrong.
You could take even just one of those areas and it would be very harmful to the country, but when you add all of those that you have just so well delineated, it makes it very difficult for our country to move forward. And he has continued to, aggressively push his viewpoints, push his policy items, and we see that the world is just now in shambles. And we're seeing the fruits of his policies played out not only on the global stage where, things are in complete disarray and we see horrific things happening around the world, but we're also seeing it in our own states, our own cities, our own communities, and we are just in some ways being torn apart by this very divisive president who will not back down. And right now we have him in D.C. welcoming the Pope, who's a symbol of unity across the entire world. And it is such a, stark thing when President Obama starts talking about how he shares with the leader of the Catholic Church this push for religious freedom. And yet, at the same time, we see that the policies that his administration, they have been pushing over and over to a great extent, really threatens not only the religious liberty of people in America, Americans, people who voted possibly for him, possibly against him, but also around the country. We see that the religious liberty of people around the world is declining, and people are dying around the world for holding their religious viewpoints, not just Christians, but also Muslims who do not adhere to the Islamist vision of what a true Muslim is.
Gail, one of the things that I'm going to blame, one of the items I'm going to blame for this mess with Obama and why he has been so successful at denigrating America, it's the news media itself. I'm a part of the news media, and I absolutely shun my brotherhood and sisterhood in this media because they have been complicit in helping this man with some very denigrating ideas, thoughts, and philosophies of control on people, and I blame the news media because none of them, hardly any of them, have had the guts to stand up and tell it like it is.
No, they're part of this Washington cartel. They are not dealing with the struggles that the rest of us deal with. You might remember when George W. Bush was president, we had endless news stories, video reports. All the press were pushing this image of the homeless. There was this epidemic of homeless people under George W. Bush's presidency. We don't see stories like that anymore under President Barack Obama's presidency, even though we know that certain segments of our population are really having a very, very difficult time under his presidency. And I go into this in particular in relation to women in my piece, because a huge part of his support in being elected to the presidency and being re-elected to the presidency was he had strong support among single women.
Right.
But women in particular have fared poorly in the Obama years. They're continuing to lose ground in his economy. The negative and slow job growth has a disproportionate impact on women. And now we have a situation where food stamp recipients outnumber the women who work full-time. That is an outrage. But do we hear the mainstream media reporting on that every day, like we heard similar reports when George W. Bush was president?
So where do they get off? They being the left, they being the Democrats. Where do they get off on this absolutely idiotic story? Oh, the Republicans and the right, why, they've got this war on women. My goodness, the facts that you wrote about right here in this piece in not too many words, but very, very explicit, show that the Democrats are a bunch of liars.
It is really remarkable that President Obama and his administration go out there and talk over and over again about the wage gap, which is the supposed difference that men and women make for the same type of job, the same experience. But the truth is, when you pull back the layers of the onion, you realize that the difference between what men and women make frequently is because of the hours that they work, the expertise they have, how long they have been on the job. But you would know that President Obama, if he really believed what he's out there advocating our federal government do at a national level to interfere with the relationship between workers and their employers, you would see that he would change people who work in his control. He would change the conditions of women working in the White House or women working in the federal government, where he does have control. But if you look at that, women in Obama's White House earn only 88 cents for each dollar paid to men. And even more drastically, only 30% of female employers in the administration made the top salary of $172,000. And we see across the board in the federal government as a whole, women are paid at the lower end of the pay scale. So if President Obama truly believes that women are not getting a fair shake in this economy, he could start right in his own White House. Then he could spread it out to the agencies of the federal government. So when you see that his actions do not line up with his rhetoric, it makes you think that he is just advancing this for political purposes and not for any other reason.
Absolutely well stated. Gail, I need your help on something. We here in this area of Southern Idaho have a college called the College of Southern Idaho. And along with the Times News newspaper locally in this area, they have combined to really try to tell all of us how wonderful letting the refugee center handle Syrian Muslim refugees coming into this area will be. And they had a great big meeting last night, kind of a brainwash session, that's trying to tell everybody how wonderful it's going to be and that they've all been vetted, we know everything about them, etc., etc. Gail, I have spoken out against this refugee system, I have spoken out against this refugee center, and I think a lot of what's being proposed is nothing more than blatant lies. What are your thoughts?
This is a critically important issue, and I'm so glad you asked me about it. There are 4 million people who have left Syria because of President Obama's wrong-headed foreign policy. And we see that there are about 2 million in Turkey, there are about 1 million refugees in Lebanon, and there are about 600,000 Syrian refugees in Jordan. They're all in these refugees camps. And under UN doctrine, the idea for refugees is that they should be kept in the closest safe place near the country of origin. So being in camps in Turkey, Lebanon, and Jordan, follow what the UN says is the best practice, because you want these people to be able to return to their country of origin once it calms down and it's safe for them to return. So this effort to try and resettle all of these Syrian refugees in the U.S. is not what the American people want. The polls show that the American people are not in favor of this. It is not what is good under what the UN has recommended, that these Refugees need to be kept safe and secure and healthy right near their country of origin. Obviously, the U.S. gives billions of dollars of aid. We have a humanitarian reason to help these refugees in these camps in Lebanon, Jordan, and Turkey. We should be helping contribute to their food, to their medical care, to their housing. But it is a huge national security risk to take in these refugees. It is impossible to adequately clear them, to make sure that they have not been subject to jihadist, Islamist type of training or ideological inculcation. And we saw that with the Somalian refugees, not just the ones who came first, but other ones as well, that these first and second generations were very subject to being able to be turned by terrorists overseas and made into people who support terrorism in the United States, and then they're inside the United States and can launch attacks from inside our country.
I want to talk more about this in a moment. We have a quick call with a question for Attorney Gail Trotter. Go ahead, caller, make it fast. Please, go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Trotter, do you think the American people are aware of the fact that we have a fifth column movement going on, and that's what's behind the immigration problem?
You know, I'm not really big on trying to pull back what organizations exactly are doing what. What I look is the facts that everyone has available, and just on the basis of the facts, regardless of who is advancing this is a bad idea. It runs a huge national security risk. It goes against what the UN recommends about keeping the refugees close to their country of origin. So just based on the facts of the situation, we don't even have to worry about any, underground organization pushing this. We have the facts we need without even establishing that this is a very bad idea to resettle 100,000 Syrian refugees in the United States.
And you use the term and the number 100,000, but Gail, I'm sure you'll agree that we have heard increased numbers almost twofold to threefold of that number that may be coming in, and small communities like here in southern Idaho, Twin Falls area, etc. Regardless of the numbers, we're bringing these people in, we're guaranteeing them lodging, we're guaranteeing them food, we're guaranteeing them a place to hang their hat, possibly get a job. And then at the end of that interim, if they don't have any of the amenities that I've mentioned that they can pay for themselves, we're stuck with them and the bills and the benefits going to them that could actually, in my opinion, help people that are much more in need, that are American citizens. Do I sound too harsh?
Well, I would put a little different gloss on what you said, because just think about the economics of it. Take away the emotion, take away the politics of it, and just think about how do we get the most bang for our taxpayer dollars. It makes a lot more sense to help the Syrian refugees over in the Middle East, because it is a lot cheaper to take care of them there, to provide housing, medical care, and food in the Middle East than it costs to provide those things in the United States. So if we use a set amount of money to help these refugees, our dollars are going to go a lot farther in the Middle East than if we are to bring them here and provide the same types of things to them here. And think about that on economics. If the dollar goes a longer way in the Middle East, we'll be able to help more people in the Middle East than we would if we just pick some of them and bring them here. And you're right, we don't know what the exact number is, but certainly, 4 million people have fled from Syria because of this wrong-headed policy of the administration dealing with Syria, which goes back to the very beginnings of his administration. And we see that we cannot take 4 million Syrians. So how about we use our taxpayer dollars in a way that helps more people instead of just benefiting certain people in a way that is vastly out of proportion to the remaining people who have to stay near their country.
One point that I did not see mentioned in your piece, and it's very well written, and I'm going to save it as a matter of fact, but one part of the equation of the Obama administration you didn't write about, and I really feel compelled to ask you your feelings on it, is the idiocy of his green energy program, which is going to bankrupt America through wasted money on something that is not a turn-on energy policy. It won't be ready for another 35 to 40 years. What are your thoughts about green energy and what this man is doing to kill the energy business in America?
It's interesting because if you look at the policy as an independent, someone who's not a Republican, not a Democratic, if you don't have any preconceived thoughts about it, if you look at the people who are benefiting from the green energy or the environmental type programs that this administration is putting through, it is people who are getting government support for doing things that they wouldn't do otherwise. Because as a free market, if we have the ability to innovate, we don't have government bringing us down, if we don't make it difficult for people to start businesses in their garages, then if there is demand, as all of us want to have a clean environment to live in, we want to have clean rivers, we want to have clean air, we want our children to be able to grow up and be healthy, there is demand for doing that at the private level. But when we have the government coming in and making all these mandates and demanding all these things, then inevitably there are going to be people who have bad motives who get involved in it just to make a ridiculous and obscene amount of money, basically drinking at the trough of the federal government. So as an independent viewer, when you think about how much energy and effort is being put into pushing these green energy programs, understand that there are a lot of people who want to be part of that federal contracting program, not because they're really strong believers in making sure that our environment is clean and healthy for our children and grandchildren to live in, but because they want to enrich their own lifestyles. And I think that anybody can see that regardless of your political ideology.
So well stated. As I said when I introduced this lady, she's one of my favorite guests to have on this program. Attorney Gail Trotter, I have nothing but respect for your writings and having you on the show. Please come back soon.
Always a delight to join you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Her great article, Time to Move On from the Obama Years, and that was written by Attorney Gail Trotter. Thank you very, very much. I like that gal. She's going to come back more in the future. You can bet on that. Hey, don't forget, before I do my weather forecast, Rogge Auctions, oh my goodness, the whole crew at Rogge Auctions are going to have a wonderful sale for you to attend. Saturday, October 3rd. Don't miss this. Put this on your calendars. Saturday, October 3rd at 11 o'clock. Hollinger liquidation sale, 3800 East, 3800 North, 4000 East of Hanson, with all kinds of great things you're looking for. Tractors, got them. A bunch of them. Like a McCormick Farmall 350 tractor, and they got a Farmall H tractor. The list goes on and on. They've got guns, many, many guns. You do not want to miss this sale. This is managed by Rogge Auctions. They know what they're doing, and they want you to be a part of it. Saturday, October 3rd, 11 o'clock sharp. Lunch will be served on the grounds. Hollinger liquidation sale, 3800 North, 4000 East of Hanson. Don't you miss it. We're going to take some more calls in just a moment. Give me a jingle at 436-2244. But I've got to get the weather in here real quick, and the weather's brought to you by Duck Uglies. Good. Yes, sirree, at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Great family dining, great menu, absolutely fantastic entertainment while you're eating. Oh, wow, it's good. It's fun. It's fun. You're going to love it. Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. And now here's Gina with the weather.
It's a Wednesday, September 23rd. Here's your weather forecast. Still inside a high-pressure system, although today not going to be as warm as it was yesterday. We saw a high of 90 for yesterday, but today mostly sunny skies, high of 82. Tonight, low of 47. High-pressure system's going to stick around as we move on into the weekend and possibly partway through next week. Sunny skies for tomorrow, high of 86. Overnight low of 53. For Friday, sunny skies, high of 90. Pretty much the same for Saturday. And for Sunday, partly cloudy, cooling evening, down to about 82. Sunsets nights at 7:30. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, boy, sounds good to me. Brought to you by Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. They've got great entertainment over there, a lot of good pickers and grinners, and I'll tell you what, they can sing. And you're going to love the food. What more could you ask for at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley? All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. Let me see, what else did I not mention to you this morning? I told you about the pharmaceutical company. Oh, let's see. I have a caller. Did I hear that, Wheels? Did you have the cow?
No, sir.
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe somebody should call in.
Kind of stumped you there for a minute, didn't I? Okay, well, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to talk to you about anything and everything you want to discuss this morning. And let's see, what else have I got here? I was really interested and scared the other night when Deanna and I were watching the news, and I do not remember what network it was on. We were going around the dial, and there was a man on the street interview, and it was almost, and Deanne brought this up, it was divided by age almost. Those that were, let's say, under 30, and then those that were, let's say, 30 and above, much above. And they were asking questions about whether you, as a voter, would support a Muslim president. And Deanne pointed it out to me, and it was very, it was remarkable that the older people that were questioned, absolutely not. They have different value systems. They will adhere to Sharia law. No, they have an ideology that is not complicit with our beliefs and values here in America. But when they asked the younger people, not only did they have an opinion that they could express, they just basically said, well, yeah, man, that'd be all right. I guess that's cool. Yeah, I'd vote for them. They don't know. They are not educated. They don't care to educate themselves. They're living in a la-la land, and that's the generation that's following us and going to take over, and it's scary. They don't know because they don't care because they're not educated. Tell me I'm wrong. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, by the way, on Mondays, we have a segment at 9:46 that is the Scows Answer Man. On behalf of Scows CarQuest Auto and Truck Parts, Jeff Poole does a wonderful job of explaining, even to a guy like me that is not much of a mechanic, but I'll tell you what I learned from him. He tells us about our cars, tells us about our pickups and our trucks and everything, what we need to do, how we need to take care of them. And that's what they do at Scows CarQuest Auto and Truck Parts. 3 locations, 323 East 8th Street and Highway 25 in Rupert, CarQuest of Burley, 518 Overland, and Scows Sterling Truck Center with the big trucks right there at Exit 211 in Hayburn. They know, they care. You should be listening every Monday, and you should also stop in to Scows CarQuest Auto and Truck Parts Centers. They can help you. Okay? Let me see what else have I got here to do this morning so I don't forget. One more reminder that, yes, tomorrow we will be at Lunch Bunch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave a little bit early from tomorrow's program. And Old Wheels over at the station, he covers for me a little bit so I don't get picked up by the police for speeding to Denny's restaurant at 611 Overland in Burley tomorrow at 11:30. And again, it's going to be a special Lunch Bunch tomorrow. And we got a lot of gift certificates to give away. You bet you. We've got gift certificates from Stokes Food Center, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, Smith's Food and Drug. I tell you what, these folks have been so phenomenal in helping support Lunch Bunch. I really, really appreciate it. And that's going to start at 11:30 tomorrow morning at Denny's at 611 Overland in Burley. Don't you miss it. I think that's about all I've got, but I got to tell you this. Next hour, we're going to have some really interesting folks on. Ryan Horsley with Red's Trading Post, and they're going to be talking about a gun rally that's going on this weekend. Very important. I really enjoy having Ryan on the air because he knows all about guns, all about what's going on with the government trying to pull the rug out from underneath us, etc. And then at 10:32 this morning, I've been waiting for this all morning long, we're going to have the United Nations correspondent for WorldNet Daily, and his name is Curtis Ellis. And he is going to reiterate a lot of what we've been telling you about the refugee program in America and also what's going to happen here locally with CSI and the Times News. And I think you'll find it extremely interesting, so don't forget to tune in for that. Stay tuned, I should say, as right now we also want to remind you you're listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure that you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call them at 312-0957. I will be back in about 6 minutes with more Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, heard on K-Bar, 1230 a.m. and streaming live all over the internet through our great service. We've got listeners in Costa Rica, Germany, China, all over the world listening every morning. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And then, of course, great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. And our friends at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide. Hey, by the way, you know today's Wednesday, and let's take a look at the special for the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. Yesterday, they had pork enchiladas. What have they got today? Chicken pot pie. I love chicken pot pies. I do. It's one of my weaknesses. When I was a little kid, my mom used to have those all the time. I love them. Chicken pot pie served with veggies, garlic toast, and super salad at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Woo! Great eating, great menu selections and specials. 139 West Main in Burley. Gonna be good. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and gonna be good. Also tells us a little bit about my next guest. I really have a lot of respect for him, and that's Ryan Horsley, and he is the owner of Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls, and tomorrow is a very special day for Red's Trading Post and Ryan and others. Tell us why. Ryan, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Well, you sound like you're a little hesitant this morning. I hope I didn't wake you.
No, we're good.
We're kidding.
Good. Excited for tomorrow.
You know, okay, now
we got approached by Greg Pruitt from Idaho's Second Amendment Alliance.
Right.
And they had asked. They said, "Hey, listen, we want to hold a rally for constitutional carry." And they said, we'd like to have it in, we'd like to have it start out at Red's Trading Post. And I said, that would be great. And he said, because I guess they've ran into some other gun shops that have been kind of opposed to meeting. And I go, really? And they said, no, that's great. And they said, we want to get a lot of people out there. And I said, no, that's great. This is something that I support. In fact, several years ago, I've been kind of working behind the scenes at times and trying to encourage our legislators at times to consider, constitutional carry. And I had a conversation a couple of years back with not one of our legislators, but one from up in Blackfoot. And at the time he said, "Well, you guys have open carry." he said, "You have open carry," and he said, and then I said, "Oh, I hate open carry." And he said, "Why is that?" And I said, "Because, frankly," I said, if I'm going to carry a firearm, I said, it's for my personal protection or, protection of my family or others. I said, I don't want to carry it open. And I said, I don't want to, go into Albertsons and have it on there, have it on my hip. I said, I understand that there are people who feel uncomfortable around firearms, and that's good, great, and fine. I said, I don't, need to prove anything or show anything. And I said, and at the same time, I don't want people knowing that, I'm carrying a firearm. I said, it's not something that I, want on my hip just to show everybody. I said, and he said, well, then you have concealed carry. And I said, that's good, great, and fine. But it all boils down to this. It's constitutional carry. That if you have a legal right to carry a firearm, you should have a legal right to carry it, whether it be open or concealed. And you have several other states that have already passed this, including Alaska, Arizona. Right. I'm trying to remember a couple other states as well.
I think Texas is one. Am I wrong?
I'm trying to remember that they're trying to get more states on board.
Okay.
And and what it boils down to is that a lot of these states now are recognizing that concealed carry license are a revenue generator, and they're a very good revenue generator, especially with more people carrying a firearm, more people purchasing a firearm for the first time, and that's good, great, and fine. But the fact of the matter is that if you are legal to own a firearm, then you should be able to carry it any way that you choose.
Let me ask you a question.
I do understand that they want to make sure that people know how to properly use a firearm.
Right.
And so they're trying to get them into classes and other things. And as you know, and as we mentioned, we are great supporters of classes and getting people to learn how to properly know how to operate a firearm. So that's not something that we're not opposed to. But at the same time, our state should be constitutional carry.
Let me ask you this, Ryan, and I think in programs where you've been a part of discussion on this issue, I've asked you this before. But from the days of the Old West, when did we as citizens basically disavow our right to carry weapons out in the open? When did that law change, or was there ever a law? When did the days of the Old West of strapping a 45 on your hip or carrying a Winchester 73, when all of a sudden did that become illegal?
You touch on something pretty interesting because, throughout the I believe it was at least the 70s and 80s, you had a lot of people who, if you were carrying a firearm, they'd say, well, do you have an Idaho Fish and Game license? And kind of that same sort that, the only reason you should be carrying a firearm is if you have if you're hunting. And that's it. But, and that's kind of changed as well. And, and I think, the fact of the matter is that criminals and felons who are in possession of a firearm, they don't care. They're going to carry concealed anyway. And, and the other thing is that this is an enhancement charge, if a criminal is caught with a firearm. That's good, great, and fine, but at the same time, it still tends to infringe on our rights to carry. I have enough, guys who come in, purchase a firearm for their wife, and just say, okay, because they want their wife to protect themselves, and say, okay, just throw it in your purse. I'm like, no, don't throw it in your purse, because you're already illegal. You're already breaking the law on that. Or just, throw it here, throw it there, or hey, I'm just taking this home. No. It's, there's all these hoops that you have to go through, and, it can get you in a lot of trouble. When it boils down to it, we need to, on some of these laws, there are some that we need to strip back. And then on this one especially, just say, hey, listen, this is constitutional carry. great that this is a revenue generator. Great that we're getting all these new. I'm all supportive of classes. And you know what? Even if it goes to constitutional carry in the state of Idaho, I will still encourage people to take classes.
Yep.
Because it never hurts. To go and to be educated and to be able to carry a firearm and know how to properly use it. But at the same time, it boils down to if you have a legal right to carry a firearm, then you have a legal right to carry it. Open, closed. We had an issue a couple of years ago that a guy was, I was talking with a gentleman, and the guy was going to be brought up on charges for brandishing, and I said, well, wait a minute, how is he brandishing a firearm? And was he waving around? And he was at a grocery store, and and they said no. They could see the imprint of his firearm, and I go, well, wait a minute. And they said he had a concealed weapons license, but he was arrested for brandishing a firearm because you could see the imprint of his firearm. I go,
oh my!
So he had a concealed weapons license. He could have carried it open. He could have carried it concealed, but you could see the imprint of his firearm. And they considered that brandishing. There's just certain things that are just absolutely ridiculous, and and it boils down to it is, Seb, if you have a legal right to carry, you should be able to carry it any way that you choose.
Let me ask you this part of it then, because again, you've been very helpful to me with information on this program. I think this is all well and good for the state of Idaho, but as you well know, a lot of times we forget when we leave the state of Idaho and go to Utah, Montana, Wyoming, Arizona, wherever it might be, we forget about maybe their laws are differing from ours, and we could end up, like they used to say, in a heap of trouble, boy. Why can't we have more uniformity with gun laws across this whole United States?
I wish that it would happen, but the fact of the matter remains, and don't get me wrong, that if we do have constitutional carry, we would still have a concealed weapons license available, to be able to carry in other states, or even if they did away with that, you could still get it for Utah, Arizona, any of those other states as well. So you would still be able to do that. You still have that opportunity, but it's kind of a pipe dream, and you have some of the liberal states that want to add on certain restrictions, and so it kind of goes back to that. So we're continuing to you see some of these organizations just continuing to piecemeal this, and trying to pick up as many states as possible, but then at the same time, as politics change, as other things change, or you have some unfortunate tragedy that happens, laws change.
Let me
have a knee-jerk reaction of okay, boy, we need to change this, we need to get rid of this,
right.
We need to impose this because this will make people safer, and just as well as I do that it doesn't make anyone safer. It just adds more laws to the books.
Do you hope that a certain element or achievement is obtained at this meeting tomorrow? What do you hope to achieve or really bring forth for public knowledge after you have this gathering at Red's Trading Post tomorrow on Thursday?
I am hoping that some of our legislators see that there is a call for constitutional carry. That there is and I hope that they would respect that as well. I hope that they understand that, especially in a strongly conservative state and also in a Second Amendment state, that, something like constitutional carry is not a threat. It's not a threat at all, and it's not going to cause more problems. It's not going to cause more issues or anything like that. It's going to be as we see, the whole deal with the firearms on campus and other things. It's just much ado about nothing. And you got Chicken Little over there, claiming the world's going to come to an end, and it's really not. It's just eases off the restrictions of law-abiding citizens, and that is all that it is.
Ryan, on behalf of Red's Trading Post, do you have, or is there any such animal as a handbook or a publication that shows what the various laws are as far as acceptance of concealed weapons permits or open carry, etc., so that people know if they're going on a road trip what they can and can't do?
Yeah, actually, there's a company called Legal Heat. It used to be Utah Legal Heat. And if you just Google them, they even have an app as well that you can, I've got the app on my iPhone that you can just go through and you can check on your phone the legal requirements in each state. And they have booklets, they have information on their website, and there's various other sources online as well that kind of show the show the legal requirements in other states as well.
Okay, now, I want to stress the fact that I have heard this rumor. I have heard this rumor, and I'm underlining the word rumor, but I feel compelled to ask you about it because you know much more about gun rights and gun laws and legislation than I do. The rumor is that I was told is that Obama and his administration, in a furtherance of trying to have more gun laws or less people packing guns, that there is a movement to try to not let anyone on federal lands with a gun unless during a validated hunting season. Has there been anything of that rumor that you have heard?
I'm expecting something towards the end of the Obama administration's towards the end, and I think that you see that regardless in any of the with any of the lame duck presidents or anything like that, some there's always pardons that are pushed through. There's legislations that's pushed through, things that they didn't get accomplished, and so using whatever means that something will at least try to get pushed through. So it's never let your guard down. And again, the president has said and stated several times that his biggest regret is not getting basically any gun requirements through, any new gun requirements, any new background checks, other things such as that. So I would expect to see at least something, some big push right before they're out, especially taking a look at the 2016 elections, and it could go anyway at this point.
Okay.
So it's, and if this is their last big hurrah for a while, especially from the Democrats and the liberals, you'll see something pushed through at that point.
Ryan, what is the crux of the meeting tomorrow night? How is it going to be constructed? Who's going to speak? It starts at 5:30 p.m. right there at your store at 203 Fifth Avenue South. Give us a little basic as to what's going to happen tomorrow night.
Well, it is my understanding that they're going to have a couple people speaking, and also then at that point they're going to be walking down to the courthouse, I believe. And so it's going to be kind of a rally and a push, to get attention and to get awareness, to have some of our legislators see. They've had these throughout the state, and you know what? I would absolutely love to be able to have a strong showing from Southern Idaho. Mm-hmm. They have one coming up for Pocatello, Rexburg, Lewiston, and they've already had a couple other ones. But I would like to have a great strong showing for Twin Falls and for this area.
Gun rally tomorrow evening at 5:30, right there at Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. Ryan, I really appreciate the information that you've given us this morning, and anytime people want to stop into the store and learn more about what's coming on regarding guns and ammo, please stop in and talk to the man that knows, and that's Ryan Horsley. Thanks for being on our program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
God bless. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, it's scary. It's really scary what's going on in our world and how the elitists are trying to take things away from us, the free people. And I urge everybody to go to this rally tomorrow night at Red's Trading Post at 5:30 tomorrow night, right there at 203 5th Avenue South in Twin. This is a good time for me to give them their commercial, too. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. A great selection of Browning Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger Benelli, Smith & Wesson, and Winchester firearms. Also, all the ammunition, also all the accessories, and above all, people that really are knowledgeable. Since 1936, an historic Old Town Twin Falls Red's Trading Post, and tomorrow night hosting that Idaho Second Amendment Alliance rally for constitutional carry at 5:30 p.m. right there at Red's Trading Post. Don't you miss it. Go on down and tell them Zeb sent you, okay? Let's see what else have we got cooking here. Oh, I got to tell you a little bit about our friends at Lennox. Yes, sirree, Bobby. Stand by for that. Ramsey Heating and Electric can offer rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Yes, sir. And they've been a Lennox dealer for 50 years. Ramsey Heating and Electric. They know the climate, they know the equipment, and they've done the shopping for you. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with warm winters and cool summers. You stop in and see them today. Now, let's see, what else have I got here that I must get on? Once again, let me get this on the air real quick. This Saturday is the 97th annual, 97 years, wow, Old Settlers Dinner. And it's going to be at the Rupert Elks Lodge in Rupert this Saturday starting at high noon, 12 noon. Turkey dinner and all the fixins, and it's only $15 a ticket, tax and tip included. And the program is going to be outstanding. They're going to have the program, The Life and Times of Artie Tyler, featuring his son, Bob Tyler. I've known Bob for a long, long time. And this is going to be informative. It's going to be funny, and it's going to be something to remember, believe me. And Gary Shorsman is the host. And he also wants you to call him for reservations at 436-3982. 97th Annual Old Settlers Dinner coming up this Saturday at the Rupert Elks Lodge at high noon. Going to be a lot of fun and great food, too. Let's see what else. Next half hour, I want to stress that we are going to have Curtis Ellis, and he is the United Nations correspondent for the World Net Daily, and we're going to be talking about refugees. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things that are going on with the United Nations, and he's written about with World Net Daily, and he calls the 70th Annual United Nations General Assembly, also known as Woodstock for Dictators. And we're going to really go into this and his article that he has written. So you don't want to miss that coming up in just a very few moments. Once again, lunch bunch tomorrow, don't forget it, at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. Starting time 11:30. I'm going to boogie out of here a few minutes early and get down there to Denny's Restaurant so we can start at 11:30. And thanks to Thomas and the whole crew for being such wonderful hosts for Lunch Bunch. Let's see, if I got anything else I got to remind you of. Tomorrow, anything special? No, I think we got it all covered. I'm going to send it back over to Wheels at our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, for our final half hour, and a very interesting half hour. I hope you'll enjoy it. We have with us on the phone right now, Wheels, is the gentleman ready to go?
He is not. It just keeps ringing, but no one answers.
Keep trying that number that I gave you. It's very important. Keep trying. I really do need to have him on the air, so do your best effort, my friend. Sometimes when you set these things up because of different time zones, naturally, our time zone, the Mountain Time Zone, and then we've got Central, and then we've got Eastern, and on the other side of us, Pacific Time Zone. Deanne, can you please see if you can help me find that gentleman? We have two numbers. You might want to call CJ and ask her quickly, if you would, please. Real fast. Thank you very much, and we'll see if we can't catch him at a phone line. We're trying to get in touch with the United Nations correspondent for WorldNet Daily, and that's Curtis Ellis. And both Deanne and Wheels are trying to get a hold of him right now. Until we do, calls are welcome on any subject that we've talked about this morning. And for that matter, make up your own if you'd like. Give us a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We can talk about the Refugee Center at CSI and the advocacy of that center by the Times News and also the College of Southern Idaho. Or we can talk about the Pope in Washington, D.C. today with the heaviest security ever in the history of that city. And I have a question for you right there, though, too. Why can and why does the Pope be able to speak out on global warming, political happenings, economics, etc., ISIS, terrorism, and there's no threat by the IRS against him, naturally, being over in the Vatican City, but IRS speaks out against us and other churches here in the United States for becoming possibly too political and losing their tax-free status? Think about that for a few moments. Call me and give me an answer. I mean, it seems like the Pope can get out and say this, that, and the other. The media will cover it, and all is rosy, all is well. But if pastors, church leaders, etc. here stand up and talk political or about global warming, etc., in a negative connotation, oh, wait a minute, we better look at your tax-free status, and the IRS says they may review it. Why? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Well, I'm waiting for your phone call that I hope is coming in, because we don't plan for these little miscues of where people forget that they're supposed to be called and on the air. I want to remind you about the game of the week quickly, and we're going to give you a little bit of information as to what we're going to do this week. The game of the week that's sponsored by Denny's for the Grand Slam Breakfast is the game between this week, Oakley and Glens Ferry. Now, here's what you do. You can email me, zeb@theranch@hotmail.com, or you can call my cell phone number, which is 312-2976. Give us your pick between Oakley and Glens Ferry, game number 5 in our series of high school football. And if you pick the right team and you're closest to the final score, you will receive a free Grand Slam breakfast from Denny's. It is fantastic. So don't forget, email those to zeb@theranch@hotmail.com or call those in. You can start calling today even. I'll let you do that at 312-2976. And give us your pick. Email or call. Deanne, did you get a number for him yet? Okay, we're working on another number where we can hopefully get him on the air. Deanne's going to email real quick. What is that number? Is it going to Damon? I'll just give it to him over the air. Damon, are you ready?
I am, sir.
All right, write this down. 212-963-9197. Call him right away, please.
Will do.
All right, thank you. That young man is very efficient, and we do appreciate everything that he's doing for us over at the main studios. Once again, going back to what we talked about last half hour, I had a call during the break at the bottom of the hour, and they asked, once again, where is the gun rally? It is at Red's Trading Post tomorrow night. Some thought I said tonight. No, I did not. I said it's tomorrow night, Thursday night at 5:30 p.m. at Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls. Don't forget to be in attendance at 5:30 tomorrow night at Red's Trading Post. Excuse me, a little hay fever in the throat. Let's check with Wheels and see if we finally have our guest on the phone.
Hey, we do, and it's all right. Clear your throat a little bit if you got to.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. And I said earlier this morning that I'm so fortunate to have this man come on our program this morning. Curtis Ellis, United Nations correspondent for WorldNet Data. Good morning, Curtis. I'm glad we finally caught you.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be caught.
Well, yeah, I wish there were some of the so-called dictators that you wrote about. I wished we could catch them, lump them up, and put them in Gitmo. I'm very concerned about the world status today. You wrote a very interesting piece called The 70th United Nations General Assembly, also known as Woodstock for Dictators. What did you mean by that?
Oh, well, I tell you, you got all the greatest bands on one stage here, starting on Monday. We're going to be seeing here the 70th General Assembly debate, and all in one day, you're going to have Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping of China, Raul Castro of Cuba, and that fellow Rouhani, the president or whatever they call him, potentate of Iran.
Oh, you mean the supreme leader?
Monday. Now,
yeah.
The New York City Police Department has done a great job putting up barricades and fences and blockades all around this building. So actually, we're going to have them all in one place, and maybe if they just don't let them out, we'll have a better world.
Amen. I like your thinking, young man. Let me ask you a little bit, Curtis, about a problem that we have incurred here in southern Idaho. And I know we're not the only ones, but I'm very familiar with this problem, and it's the refugees coming into America. Our local college, the College of Southern Idaho, has been picked as a refugee center, and the Times News newspaper, our local paper, has been an advocate group for bringing in more and more of these refugees. I have spoken out against this ever since the inception. I think it's a bad idea. We don't know who these people are. They're not vetted properly. We're also enhancing the chance that our benefit programs, our welfare programs, will not be able to fund this and take care of these people, let alone our own citizens. What are your thoughts about the impending huge numbers of Syrian illegal immigrants coming into this country?
Well, it really is a challenge and a problem here. We have a situation. It's often been said. Let me put it this way. It's often been said in Washington that the scandal is not what's illegal; it's what's legal. You've got legal bribes pouring into that town like a brothel when the sailors arrive. And the same goes with immigration. It's the so-called legal immigration, which is big a problem, if not bigger, than the illegal immigration. And all of these refugees that are being talked about coming into the country, now they're talking about maybe up to 200,000, are perfectly legal. These are perfectly legal, but that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't mean it's okay. It's one thing to bring in people that are culturally similar, that have share our values, share our heritage, share our vision. That is not disruptive necessarily to the social fabric. But when you bring in millions of people, because legally there are 1 million people a year admitted to the United States from cultures that are radically different than our own, that don't have a history of the rule of law, respect for private property, independent citizenry, that then starts to change the nature of the country. And you can't dismiss this. You can't overlook it, and you can't you can't just say, well, God created all people the same. Yes, God created all of his children the same equally, but equal does not mean the same. And in God's eyes, we're all equal. But when you get down to the social level, on this plane, there are big differences.
You know, Curtis, my fear, and again, I'm glad to have you as an expert on this subject on my program. My fears are, when I've spoken out against this on the radio program numerous times, that we don't know who these people really are. There's no way, when you're escaping the tyranny and the fears of a country, there's no way that you have the computer records, there's no way you have a file on everybody as to who they are, what they were, what they want to be, etc. And the FBI and Homeland Security have said there is no way to vet or have information on the incoming Syrian refugees. And also yesterday, a report came out that ISIS is issuing fake passports to a lot of these refugees to get them here in this country and create terror cells. Why shouldn't I be worried?
Well, you should be. One would be a fool not to be worried. It doesn't surprise me that ISIS would be issuing false passports. Look, they said their goal is to Islamicize Europe. They said they're going to march on Rome. Now, I don't think they're going to get the camels that Suleiman the Magnificent used back in 1527 to lay siege to Vienna. I don't think they're even going to use the Humvees that the Iraqi army left behind when they fled and basically handed them over to ISIS. I think the way they're going to accomplish their goal is by pushing human waves of millions of people into Europe that will demographically change that nation. And we're in their gun sights as well. The goal of this outfit is to spread its creed. And they can do this in any number of ways. One with terror cells and militarily and demographically slowly assimilate the other countries into their caliphate. I don't think that's paranoid thinking. I think that's just common sense. And you read what they say. You know, Menachem Begin once said that the Jewish people, if people say they want to kill you, you ought to listen to them. And that's what these people are saying about us.
Curtis, when you look at the overall situation, and nobody knows this better than you, working with the United Nations and hearing these people, whether it's Xi Jinping of China or Putin, or whether it's the absolute destitute leader of Iran, Rouhani, all these people hate us. All these people want to kill us. All these people advertise the different ways they want to see our demise. And yet this Obama administration does nothing to implement the strength of America and brag about America and how good we are. Is most of our problem caused because of this weakness in this administration?
There is the administration encapsulates a feeling that's extant. Unfortunately, it's not limited to the administration. There's a lack of will in the West, I believe. People in America and in Western Europe are ashamed of our heritage. In Western Europe, it's become a secularized society. They built the great cathedrals of Notre Dame and Westminster Abbey. The pews are empty. In this country, people are ashamed of our heritage. We stole the land from the Indians, then we stole the land from Mexico. It's a racist society. This is what's being taught in our schools. So there's a lack of will. Terrorism works on a few levels. The idea of doing these dramatic strikes like the World Trade Center is to instill fear. You want to weaken the will to resist. And this is being done through our education system as well. One last point I want to make on the UN and this immigration business is the United Nations line, the UN line, is that there should be open borders and people should be allowed to move anywhere. And now, nobody is asking here at the UN, no one's asking Iran to take in the Syrian refugees. No one's, even though Iran is taking sides in that war, nobody is asking the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, these rich countries to take in these refugees. By the way, Saudi Arabia never would take them in because they're afraid of terrorism.
That's right.
No, they're asking the Europeans to take them in. They're asking the Americans to take them in. There is part of this goal, I believe, is to, well, we're so rich and we've exploited the whole world. We now have this moral, if not legal, responsibility to take in whoever wants to come.
Curtis, we have a call with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly. You're on the air.
Yes, one of the things that I think people don't understand is that across this nation there's a thing called white American guilt. In other words, you know what it is, but the problem of it is so many other people don't know what it is. Even the people that suffer from the guilt itself don't even realize that what they're doing. But when we see an ad about the Pope coming to America, and it's meant to make us feel ashamed of how we have been rich and polluted the earth, and I say to myself, you know, what raised so many people in this world was capitalism and freedom, and I'll hang up.
All right, Curtis, respond to that, please.
No, that's a good point. That's right in line. I agree 100% with the callers. White guilt. We're supposed to feel guilty because we're white, because the white people have enslaved all these other people, etc., etc. Look, the Western civilization, the Judeo-Christian, the Western civilization, which grew from Abraham and Moses and went from there, we have produced the advanced technology that the rest of the world relies on and uses. We have created the greatest rise in the standard of living ever witnessed in the history of this planet. Is anything perfect? No one's perfect. No one expects to be perfect. And if you think it's going to be perfect, if all we white people, Jews and Christians, roll over and die, if you think you're going to have a perfect world, then you're not. And you see the same thing going on with the environmentalists. There's this extreme fundamentalist environmentalist who think if we just get rid of human beings, the world's going to be a perfect place. And it's just ridiculous. Humans are part of the ecosystem. We are part of the environment. We are part of God's creation. But that's not the way these people think, because they've got guilt. They're not just guilty about being white. They're guilty about being humans.
Well, and there again, the biblical equation. I want to have you elaborate on that real quick. I'm down to about 4 minutes left in this segment. But, God created man to have dominion over all the earth. Anybody that's any kind of a Bible scholar at all knows that fact, but yet these people on the left, they want to diminish everything that God put for us to use, not abuse.
Well, that's right. I mean, and you just look at the history, and if any intelligent person who looks at the record, you'll know that the Native Americans, the Indian tribes, used to burn the prairie in order for it to be more fruitful. I mean, man has always cultivated the garden. That's what he was told to do in the Bible. And even, like I say, even the pagan Indians knew that. There was no pristine environment that was not managed by man. I did this story a couple of years ago about this oyster farm in a national park in Northern California. The extreme environmentalists want to shut it down, saying harvesting oysters out of Drake's Bay is somehow harming the environment. It just so happens the Indians did that before Sir Francis Drake showed up there and renamed the bay.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Going on forever.
I got one final thought I want you to respond to. I've got 3 minutes, and Obama is leaving us, the United States, destitute for leadership. But when we look at 2016 and the complete disarray of the Republican Party, and God help us know to Hillary, what kind of leadership have we got coming on that can restore the values of this country?
Well, I'm not endorsing any candidate here, but I say the big appeal, part of the appeal of Donald Trump is the fact that he is saying, I can fix things. I can fix this. I can do it. And he has a record in the private sector and in the real estate industry of doing things and actually accomplishing things. But if you look at his body language, if you look at the way he talks about having leaders. And when he says that Putin will respect him, I believe that. They say a dog can smell fear. right? And the junkyard dog can smell if you're scared.
Amen.
This is what we're talking about here. The other part of Donald Trump's appeal is negotiating better trade deals, putting America first, not being ashamed of America, not being ashamed of what we accomplish. We are the greatest nation on earth in history. Sure, we have flaws. Everybody has flaws. I even have a wart on my nose, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
You know, I really enjoyed the conversation. You got to promise me to come back, Curtis. You are welcome here anytime. The United Nations correspondent for WorldNet Daily and the executive director of the American Jobs Alliance, Curtis Ellis. You're a good guy and straight shooter. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, God bless you, Zeb. Always a pleasure to talk with you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I like that man. He tells it like it is. Very interesting piece. 70th United Nations General Assembly, also known as Woodstock for dictators, and he's going to come back. You can bet on that. Hey, we've got to get the weather in here. Holy smokes, I almost forgot. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, my goodness, they've got the marinated meats. Oh, it's absolutely delicious. And the smoked meats, and you got to go in into their shop and select premium meats that are further processed in-house, with their flavor-packed techniques. All of this and more at Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. And now here's Gina with the weather.
It's a Wednesday, September 23rd. Here's your weather forecast. Still inside a high-pressure system, although today not going to be as warm as it was yesterday. We saw a high of 90 for yesterday, but today, mostly sunny skies, high of 82. Tonight, low of 47. High-pressure system's going to stick around as we move on into the weekend and possibly partway through next week. Sunny skies for tomorrow, high of 86. Overnight low of 53. For Friday, sunny skies, high of 90. Pretty much the same for Saturday. And for Sunday, partly cloudy, cooling down to about 82. Sunset tonight at 7:30. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you very much. Great weather forecast. Great weather forecast. And brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Delicious. 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, number to call. And remember, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. It is good. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Tomorrow being Thursday, we're going to have the Burley Livestock Report, and we've got a whole bunch of different segments on. Rita Ramsey's going to be on. We're going to have Dog Nation. We're going to have our Business Salute, Cassia County School Days. By the way, we're going to be blessed with the presence of Debbie Critchfield tomorrow on the Cassia County School Days, and that comes on at 10:12 tomorrow morning, so don't miss that. We got a whole bunch of things to do on Thursday. And also, I want to remind you about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations. Shocks and struts? Yup. Front end alignments? Yup. Best brake service in the area or any area? Yup. Professionally trained technicians and the brake industry's best warranty. You're getting the premium, the best, at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I want to stress the fact, too, that Les Schwab Tire Centers, tires, underline that word. They've got tires for all the different driving needs. Maybe on sale right now, the Ultra Z900. My goodness sakes, all-season design, 65 to 80,000 mile warranty, depending on your driving habits. Oh my goodness. And also for the pick-em-up trucks on sale, the Open Country HT. Check out these great buys for your safe driving. It's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Excuse me. I love this time of the year with hay fever, the bean dust floating through the air and making me cough and sneeze. Ah, lovely. Anyway, tomorrow morning we'll sign on at 8:06 and ride the horse for 3 hours. We've had many people send us emails, and they're listening from all over the world. ZebBell.com. Go to ZebBell.com, click on the audio number or button, and you can listen anywhere you want from all points of the compass to Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch. We appreciate it. Beaming out locally right here on KBAR 1230. And we urge you to tell your friends and neighbors. I mean, we've had people in Costa Rica and people in Germany, like I said last hour. We're getting all kinds of emails from China, etc. Thank you very much for all your support. We do thank you. You've been listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure that you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call Dr. Pickup at 312-0957 today. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless everybody.